Hey everyone, welcome back to Shawn's Trains. Today I've got a very special Dash 840 CM from Rapido. Now, if you remember, they used to do these, or they did a run of these back in their Prime Mover series, and they were wildly popular. The resale value, just a short time after, was great. These are very sought after engines. They're beautiful models, and I can't wait to get this one out of the box. This is a very special order from Otter Valley Railroad. This is actually something I've seen in person, and I'm still looking to see if I have the photographs of it. But this is the specially numbered 4620. So this has got a hand, I believe it's just a handwritten number board. But living in rail fanning in Waukesha for so many years, I have seen so many of these come through here. And if you go through and read the manual, which I did, and I'm very thankful I did because there's a lot of great information in there, it's very entertaining. It's been a while since I've read a manual, and I'm really glad I sat down and read this one because this is awesome. A couple other things I want to point out is these are equipped with Loc Sound 5 sound and DCC and the MoPower Keep Alive. Another interesting feature about that Keep Alive, or their power system here, is that if it goes over a switch that shorts out, it protects the locomotive and will continue through the short. That's if I understand it correctly in the manual. So that's pretty cool, because normally if you have a short, it's done. So this is kind of nice. So without any further ado, let's get into this guy and take a look. While going through the book, it does mention quite a bit about small detail parts being broken or missing, stuff like that. I just want to say this is a nice little touch from Otter Valley. We hope you have a great day. I'm getting a train in the mail. Of course, it's a great day. No need for concern. I don't have the manual in here because that's in my lunchbox. I was reading it at work, but you've got some information. Look online, some cool stickers. Put those on my proto throttles later. And I just want to say, this is a nice touch. This is, I like that. That's a good, good little sticker to have. So here's the locomotive. We got this beautiful clamshell packaging, and this is the faded version. So if I recall correctly, the last model that they made actually had cast in color plastic and then painted. The inside of the shell looked like it was already red, so maybe they painted the inside of the shell. I don't remember, but I remember that was a topic of discussion previously. So we'll take this foam out, probably not hold on to it, but what's nice is this isn't that typical cheap foam. This is actually like really nice foam. Not the stuff that leaves fuzzies everywhere. So way to go for Rapido on that. That and the Keep Alive right away is really nice to see. So I already cleaned my hands, but I'm always paranoid. They say when handling this, you should pick it up by the fuel tank. And so I try my best to do that, but they don't really give you a place to do it in here. What I like is that the plastic on top stay together, and you don't have those goofy plastic clips holding the trucks down or sticking to the trucks. I know it's important and it serves its purpose, but it is kind of annoying. So with that said, let's get this guy on a turntable and take a look around. So first thing I want to point out is you've got the number boards on the front here. You got the two mismatched ones. And this is what I was talking about right here. You got a different funky number board, and that is for prototype. It is a really kind of a neat feature when you see it in person. The other thing I want to point out is the colors on this are actually really, really nice. I mean, they're supposed to be faded like this. What you're seeing on camera, if you're seeing what I'm seeing, is actually a bit dark. It's probably because of how close I have my camera and the lighting I'm using. But unfortunately, that's what I've got. So we'll work around here a little bit. I'm not going to spend too much time on this because it's a Rapido product. You already know what to expect as far as detail goes. And it is a lot. You should be expecting a lot because there is. This is a beautiful Draper taper. So you've got the taper on the side here for the engineers and the crew to be able to see back along the side of the locomotive. Very interesting feature. Along the side you can see the beautiful BC rail, red, white, and blue lettering. One thing I do want to point out, There's actually kind of a fuzzy line here, so if we can zoom in, I don't know if I want to zoom in 10 times, but I want to try this here. So you can see how you've got a crisp line along the back here a little bit, and then it gets really fuzzy here and up here. Not the greatest paint. I mean, right here again, you can see it's super crisp. Here you can see it's pretty crisp. But along the side here, it's just not the best. I mean, at this point, I don't really care. I'm happy to have this model. I got this from Otter Valley. I've got two more. I've got the Zebra and the North America paint scheme coming from EngineHouse Services out of Green Bay, Wisconsin. But I've really learned to get less picky about this stuff because I just want to enjoy the hobby. I used to be really, really tight, just really tight on manufacturers about this stuff. But you know what? That doesn't help anybody. So I'm trying to work on that a little bit. But I just want to say, as far as the rear of a locomotive goes, I think these are cool. Modern locomotives, you got these big things overhanging. Mind you, you have walkways there, so this would still be overhanging. But you've got this very interesting backside that's kind of a curve. It's kind of like a F40 or something, like a passenger locomotive. That's what I think of when I see this. It's just kind of funny. No rear ditch lights, but you've got the nice big coupler. I'll be putting semi-scale couplers on this guy, and then I'll have a friend of mine weathering it. But then you've got the nice 4620s up top here. You've got all the detail you expect. You got the spare knuckles. And then you can see on the side here, you've got the BC rail. Very, very barely there. And then another favorite part of this locomotive is with the cowling, you've got I think that's the intake box or something. But I just think these are such neat locomotives. So you've got the faded gray tank trucks, everything. You've got the painted steps. It's just, everything is here. There's no loose parts in the box, which I'm very thankful for. That's been an issue in a lot of previous models for me from Rapido, especially their passenger cars, which kind of shied me away from them. But honestly, I kind of wish I still had them. The Algoma Central cars, those are really unique. Another real neat feature about this is you've got the Canadian National front door on here. So you got the big N logo on the front of that. That's kind of neat. But again, I won't stay too long on this because there's so much to cover that I want to cover on this guy. That's just really cool. And I'll come back and I'll get some more pictures and we'll put that later in the video. Let's move on. Alright, so the next thing I'm going to work on here is we're going to change out the couplers and we're going to check whether little Otter Valley track gauge that came with the LRV cars I purchased. There were another special run from them that were faded and everything. I'm going to check this locomotive with this that came with that. So let's just check here real quick. Alright, so everything seems to be ship shape with those. Now we're going to take the coupler boxes off and we're going to swap in some Katy couplers. Alright, so here we've got our locomotive on our test track, and I've got my load programmer loading up here. So I've got this thing set up on the rollers because we can do multiple tests with it. I want to do the break-in period, we're going to do all the programming. All that's going to happen right here in this spot because I've got a loop of track, but that's on carpet and that's just kind of for running stuff because I've got no other options right now. I don't belong with any clubs and I don't get time to go to friends' houses to run trains very often because of work. So we've got this guy here. So I've got my microphones out, so hopefully we can do a decent job of recording the sounds. There's a few hidden gems in these guys usually, and I want to see if we can find them. We might not be able to do it all on the test track here. We might have to take it over into the Carpetland USA over there, and or Carpet Empire, and try it out. So We're just going through, we're reading all the CVs right now. There's a lot in this guy. Rapido goes bananas with with the programming. And they even warn you, like, there's a lot of stuff you have to do if you want to reprogram these. So I always use the local programmer. I save the original file so that I have it in case I need a backup. You don't have to contact the manufacturer and be like, oh, hey, I screwed this up. And so it's kind of nice to have. All right, so this thing's taking way longer for it to get to reading the CVs than I was expecting. So while that's going on, I want to go over a couple of things. One, I wanted to talk about my experience with Rapido. So I canceled all of my pre-orders for H1644s, SD10s, the 44 tonners, and I nearly canceled this because of my turboliner and some experiences I had with Rapido rolling stock and a couple of employees. So when you go to a train show, I'll talk about the employees first. So when you go to a train show or a swap meet, or you go to any event where you're going to be seeing manufacturers, suppliers, and other people in the hobby, you expect a certain level of, I want to say courtesy, but just, customer service, right? We've all played a role in customer service at some point where, we're just doing that. We're playing a role. We're talking about, things that we know, that we love, that we're passionate for, but sometimes that gets old. And after a long weekend, sometimes 3 or 4 days, that's the last thing we want to talk about. We've got nothing to do with people. I get that. After a long weekend of Train Fest or any show when I'm with Superior Scenics or I was promoting my swap meets, I was toast, man. I was ready to be done. But while you're there, you've got to really, kind of put out. You got to put on. You got to put on a show. And at the last Train Fest I was at, I was talking to a gentleman at Rapido who was less than interested in being there. I won't say who it was, but you'd certainly recognize him if you've followed Rapido at all. And I was really disappointed because I was excited to see all these, to see the turboliner, to see the cabooses, to see the hoppers, to see all the engines that they were working on, the announcements, all that stuff. I was excited because I used to spend a lot of money on model trains. And I was just like, yeah, I've got like this much coming from you guys. I'm really excited for it. And he's just like, yep. Like, it's not just that he wasn't interested. Like, I get it. It's a long day for you, man. But the level of just dismissive, and it's just like, come on, man. Like, it didn't really help me build any enthusiasm for buying this stuff. I think what really sunk the nail in the coffin for me, for my last kind of like with Rapido, was I had bought a bunch of rolling stock because it fit in with what I wanted. So I bought a couple box cars, bought a few tank cars, and the box cars ended up being junk. They're really light. They don't work very well. There's a bunch of plastic bits hanging too low that were snagging on the track and whatnot. And I had a severe mentality of that's not my problem to deal with. I just paid $50 to $60 for a freight car, and it doesn't even run on the track. Are you kidding me? I still don't think we should have to deal with it. I don't have to deal with it with Tangent, and Tangent isn't as much as Rapido is. But, I wanted the cars, so I snipped a bunch of plastic detail parts off, and it is what it is. Rapido's known for having a ton of underbody detail, so I would kind of like to have it on the car. Same with the locomotives. We're spending good money. Upwards of $300 an hour for a DCC and sound locomotive, which is kind of insane. I get it. It's worth it. It's way more technology. It's way more detail. I understand that. And that most of the issues that I come across are easy modeler repairs. The details I understand. But there are just times where it's just like, come come on, like why? Why is it such a frequent issue? And it seems like it's with Rapido more than anyone else. More than scale trains, more than Athearn. I've had great success with Athearn. I'm in love with Athearn right now. I can't tell you the last time I bought a scale trains locomotive. I wanted to buy a EJ&E SD38. I wanted to buy a Burlington Northern and Santa Fe and ICG and BN SD40-2B locomotives, and I couldn't bring myself to do it. It's just so much money. I mean, I've saved so much money on trains this year. I started doing track days with my car. Oh, man. But I was really excited about these engines. And I couldn't pass up the opportunity to have a couple again. So this is my re-entry into the world of Rapido. And I'm really excited for it. I've already pointed out, the one issue I've seen so far with the paint, which normally isn't an issue with any manufacturer that I've seen in the last 10 years. It just doesn't bother me like it used to. So I think that's just part of me either moving on or getting over it, whatever you want to call it. I'm more excited to have the model. That's not what I'm going to focus on. I'm going to focus on having fun, running this with stuff it never would have ran with, like Milwaukee Road SD4-2s or an ICG GP38. All kinds of wacky stuff that would be considered blasphemous by most people. With that said, the two other issues I had were, I would like to say, with engineering with these models. I'll start with the Bud RDC. I picked one of those up out of the mystery box with just DCC. I put sound in it with a Keep Alive, and it worked great until I took it to a layout that didn't have the greatest clean track. Being that it's two separate motors, it seemed like one would be pushing, the other would be pulling, and never at the same rate. The Keep Alive seemed to have no effect. The other issue was with the turbo liner. Same thing. Because they didn't have Keep Alives in them, it was the sound from the factory. One would die, the other's just spin in its wheels. Constantly having issues with it. And I get part of it's part of the layout. But I didn't have that issue with anything else. I cleaned the wheels, cleaned the contacts. But I think the biggest thing was just the wind was taken out of my sails for that set. And so I traded it off. He's thrilled with it. And it is what it is. I just have no interest in that set anymore. You get all this excitement, you get it knocked down, it happens. You move on. So I moved on, and I got the RSD14, the Canadian National Long Hood. Beautiful engine, just beautiful. That and the RS18U that came out at the same time, just beautiful. Sounded amazing. But the center axle on the 3-axle trucks for the Canadian National locomotive are idle. There's no power to them. They might pick up, but there's no power. And because they don't have any spring to them or any lift, anytime you get to a decent bump in the track, it would raise the truck up and then it would teeter on there. So you lost half your tractive effort. And it got outpulled by an SW1500 but with sound, an Athearn SW1500 with sound. I couldn't believe it. It was insane. So I dumped that, and because of my loss of taste for Rapido products, I sold off my RS18U, and I really shouldn't have. It was a beautiful engine, and that worked great. But I just lost my taste so bad for Rapido, so I'm kind of hoping I get it back with these. Because I'd love an SD10. I'd love their H16 44s. I would love the 44 tonners. Those would all be beautiful and perfect models for my layout and everything. And they come with Keep Alives now, which is awesome. I've been asking for that for years from Rapido, and they did it. So for all those of you who spoke up, thank you. That was awesome. We did it. Our voices do matter. They are listening. But it also takes time for them to transition to add that technology. The design, the manufacturing, all that stuff, incorporating it is not as easy as just popping it in. To make it, useful and to make it efficient and effective enough for them to make it worthwhile doing, it has to happen on their terms. And I'm very thankful for Rapido for not increasing the price of the locomotives, having added that Keep Alive. So I appreciate that, and that's another reason why I am interested in giving Rapido another shot. So I'm going to see how this one goes. Like I said, I've got 2 more from EngineHouse Services. I'm really excited to get those. But it looks like Loc Programmer is finally done after almost 15 minutes of downloading everything from the CVs. I mean, you got 2 rails and you got a lot of information, so I don't blame him for taking that long. But let's get this thing going, shall we? So, a couple things I want to talk about real quick before you get into this too much is if you've read the manual, or if you haven't, there's a ton of information about this stuff with really cool things you can change, like the bells. So you can actually go through 4 different bells with CV164 with values 0 through 3. It's really interesting because, you know, as the bells wear and get changed out and repaired and updated and blah, 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 they change. So if you've got a dozen different engines like this, you've got 4 different bells to choose from. That's pretty cool. So I'm only going to have 3 locomotives, and you bet your top dollar I'm going to have a different bell on each one of them. F10 is your independent brake, but something that's new that Rapido does or has in this locomotive, I don't know if they did it in their past locomotives, but this one is really cool. So you can change CV165 for different brake shoes. So CV165 at 0 gives you composite brake shoes, and that's what it's set at from the factory. If you change it to a value of 1, it gives you cast iron brakes. And if you read the manual, it'll tell you, if you don't like your ears or don't mind nails on a chalkboard kind of sound, go ahead and use the cast iron brakes. I'm going to put it on this guy just because I want to try it out. If I can make my locomotives different than someone else's, you bet I'm going to take my chance to do it. Another thing that's kind of cool is for the spitter valve. You've got 2 different functions for that. So you can have it going more for humid days, as they put it in their manual. So that's F15, and that gives you a lot of spitter valve action. And if you want it less frequent, you can set it for F28, and that just changes the frequency of that sound value. If you want to turn off the track inspection lights, that's F18. If you want to turn off the number boards, it's F19. And page 17 of your book is really what you need to see if you want to be looking to change your sound volumes. Another important note I want to get here before I forget is you want to use white glue instead of CA for reattaching parts. It's something they mentioned multiple times in there. Another thing they mentioned multiple times is loose parts. Stuff like that. You should check your trucks for movement. You should check parts to make sure they're not loose, that they're not in any place they shouldn't be, and make sure you get that figured out before it goes on the layout. They're adamant about it, and I can appreciate that. So, without further ado, let's do some programming and get to testing this guy. So we're going to go to the driver's cab on the Loc Programmer, and we're going to turn on the track power. And we'll hit F8 and we'll get the sound going. So we're going to try F19 here real quick and just see if that makes a big difference. Let me dim a couple of lights real quick, because that, I can see it, but I can tell that the camera didn't see it. Really makes a difference, especially with that white number board. I think that's going to stand out a lot during nighttime ops, and that'll be another really cool feature to be paying attention to. So with the number boards on, let's check out the front headlight. Beautiful. That is a beautiful light. It looks just as good as it does on camera here. Let's see if I can move this around a little bit and get a better view. I mean, that's probably the best looking headlight I have ever seen. I am thrilled about that. So let's keep this going here. Next thing we've got ditch lights. Oh, sorry, no, that is F11 is marker lights. Let's see, get a cheat sheet out here quick. So, we can cycle through those real quick. White, red, and green. That's me the white. Oh, sorry, that's red. Then white. The left side's a little dim, but again, no big deal. Absolutely gorgeous. Okay, let's see. We've got, that should be the rear light. 16, 7. Okay, there's the rock lights. There's the rear headlight. There we go. There's ditch lights, rock lights, and headlight. So the rock lights in the middle, those are way brighter than everything else. So, I mean, very appropriate. And these are by far the best looking lights I've ever seen on this market. That is incredible. So let's play around with the horn a little bit here and the bell and see what they sound like. So let's get a little movement. So one thing they did point out in the manual is if you keep playing with the horn with short notes, eventually there will be one that tapers off, and so that's why I was kind of playing with it. There we go. So we got a couple of tapers off. So now let's try the brake. So I didn't really get a whole lot out of the brake there. So put a little speed into it and then we'll apply the brakes and see if we get a sound out of it. So yeah, there's the brake. There's that little bit. Okay, now we'll get our shutdown sequence in. Beautiful. We'll go through, change a couple of little settings here. Let's see. So, alright, I'm going to change a few things around here real quick, and then we'll get right back to it. Alright, so we're going to give this guy a shot here, and this time we've got a different brake setting. So all I did was to program the road number and the brake setting into it. So, let's give it a shot. Something else that they did to this locomotive for these decoders specifically that I'm aware of in their manual, they say that you no longer have to wait for the prime mover to start up to move your locomotive. So it's kind of like a tsunami, you just put it in and that fires up right away. This not only fire up the new fire up, but like the tsunami, while the engine's starting up, you can take off and get moving. So let's try the brake. That wasn't horrible. So let's get a little bit more speed this time. but I do want to turn the volume down a little bit to like half. That's a little bit better. We're going to try something here. So there's it hinted to something in the book that I want to see if it's true. So we're going to set CV8 to 8 here. Well, I'm not hearing anything. So maybe we have to turn this off. You can see the lights are still on. And there they go. So there's a few second delay there, so that's good. So we'll turn it back on. Turn the volume up because I'm not hearing anything right now. No bell. No front headlight. So CV8 to 8 here did not work out for us in that case. So all I have to do is go back and put this back on the last file. And that's it. So we'll try a couple different functions here and see if we can't get some fun sounds out of this guy. Can you imagine rolling down the tracks in your beautiful wood scenery and you just hear this come on?
The Fresh Maker.
That's probably the best ad I've ever heard towards a modeler. Is to hear it come out of a locomotive. There's a few more of these. I'm just going to go through them all.
We're doing a story on a mountain in Canada that will be inspired by Mount Rushmore, and it's going to have Canada's most famous Eskimo president on it, and his name was Maroonie-Yuck.
Congratulations.
Canada on Mount Maroonie-Yuck.
Maroonie-Yuck.
Congratulations, Canada, on Mount Maroonie-Yuck.
Maroonie-Yuck. Hello, Canada.
Our Eskimo neighbors to the south. Why do you think your mommy or daddy are always telling you, don't put that in your mouth? Let's find out.
Hi, kids. Why are we on television anyway? We're here to tell a little story about why you shouldn't put things into your mouth when you don't know what they are, and why you should never take anything a stranger tries to give you. Why not? Because if you ate somebody else's medicine, some bad food, or some poison, you could get very sick. Ugh, I don't want to be sick. And that's why before you eat anything, you should always ask someone you love if it's okay. Okay.
And this is just the fast spit or the slow spitter valves, F28. So those are the extra sounds that you get with it. That's kind of an interesting thing. I'm just checking F29 through F32 quick. And nothing. So those are the extra sounds. Thank you for watching Shawn's Trains. I hope you have a great day and I hope to see you in the next video. Take care and happy railroading.